I'm Al McFarlane. This is a special Juneteenth edition of Conversations with Al McFarlane. And isn't it amazing that President Trump is claiming that he's the one that's making Juneteenth famous? Doesn't make sense to me. I'm joined by a video conference by Zoom with my colleague and counterpart in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're actually on Greenwood Street. Greenwood Street is the scene of the infamous massacre of Black people back in 1921, I believe, about 100 years ago, coming up on that. And Fred Jones is there, who's with the Oklahoma Eagle newspaper. Brother Fred, how you doing, man?
Hey, man, how you doing, Al, man? We're just excited. There's about 3,000 people that are on the ground already, man, and we haven't even begun with the first half of the program yet, man. So we're looking forward to Reverend Al Sharpton tonight, speaking some powerful and positive words into the community. And, then we're going to lean back with Lakeside, man. So it should be a great night here in Tulsa.
Try to bring the microphone in closer so your voice is stronger. So we'll get more of your voice. That's what I want. So okay, a strong man. Voice.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, Perfect. We're just looking for a great night in Tulsa, man. There's 3,000 or 4,000 people already on the ground. And the event hasn't even begun. There's camera crews, media crews from all over the world, man, as far as Dubai. So, it's an exciting moment for Tulsa, man. It gives us an opportunity to show that, Black Lives Matter to us also. And, we just had a group from another state that marched to City Hall with a casket, man. So, some great things going on. And I'm standing here with one of my high school teammates, William Tisdale, brother of the late, great Wayman Tisdale from Oklahoma University, and a great jazz artist. I'm going to give William to give some insight on what he thinks about today also.
How you doing, Brother Tisdale?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well. Thank you for joining this conversation, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I tell you what, it's a whole different atmosphere here today. It seems like there's a more than just a move. There's a mission that's taking place that's going on. There's a rainbow of people that's here. But most importantly, there's focus on where we need to go from here. So it's exciting, and thank you for the opportunity to be on here to share with you people what's going on down here.
Tell me about the casket walking right behind you there. I see the casket coming up. Talk about that. What's going on?
Okay, so as the rest of the country has branded certain streets with Black Lives Matter, we all got here this morning, and the city of Tulsa is also. This is Greenwood. This is Black Wall Street, and it has Black Lives Matter painted on the street, man. So we're just really happy about that. It's crazy. It's a photo op for everybody, man. So again, branding is always necessary, and I can't think of a better way to do it than on Black Wall Street.
I saw a casket being carried up the street behind you to your left. What was that about?
Can you say that again?
I saw a casket. I saw a group of people carrying a casket, a funeral casket.
Right. That's the group, I think, from Kansas City that marched to City Hall, just concerned about the African-American men, young men that have been murdered. So they had a protest earlier, about an hour ago, and they marched to City Hall where they held a protest rally.
And they're also focusing on the SBA lending practices, trying to bring attention to that as well. So they're not just dealing with, it's the total systematic issues what they're dealing with.
Great. So talk about this street that you're on, historic street, Greenwood. Talk about that street.
Well, I mean, Greenwood, is very historic, of course. The center of the 1921 race, but I don't know if you guys can see everything, but there's just people all around. Al, of course, the 1921 race massacre. This is the center of it. This is when you look at the pictures and you see the building that's one wall standing up. This is right where it was, man. So, 100 years later, here we are. We're thankful for the media storm. The perfect media storm gives attention to us 1 year before the 100-year commemoration. So, we've all taken it as, hey, God has a strange way of doing stuff sometimes. But, there are people all over here, man, and it's bringing attention to Black Wall Street and the massacre right now. So it'll help us as we, look towards a 100-year commemoration of that moment.
There might be people listening on Facebook. We're streaming this not only in Minnesota, but nationwide. And there may be people listening and watching this right now who don't know the Black Wall Street story. So if you don't mind, take some time and just educate people about what it means when you say Black Wall Street and what happened with the massacre. Just take us down that story.
Well, about 101 years ago, this was the Black economic empire of the United States. There were banks, there was hotels, there was movie theaters, there were doctors, there were lawyers. Everything that was needed was right here on Black Wall Street. And the dollar, went around 35 times before it even went out. I mean, some of the old schoolers said once the dollar came in, it never left. So you never had to leave this community to get anything. Jealousy, envy, the economic empire that was established caused a lot of jealousy among the white constituents. They bombed, they dropped kerosene bombs on everything to make sure everything burnt down. 35 city blocks. They say 300 deaths. We know there was a lot more, but it was an economic empire. It's all about the dollar, man. So we're trying to bring that back to Black Wall Street, reestablish the business district that it once was, make it a better place for our kids and generations to come.
It's a powerful story. And then how is your community feeling about the fact that President was going to bring his rally there today, kind of, from our point of view, in disrespect for Black people, but they changed it till tomorrow. What's the discussion about that in the community right now?
I think that was kind of a mobilization move. I mean, I think when people heard that, it became an insult, but then they made it a call to order. Instead of just taking another insult, we said, let's do a call to action. I think at the end of the day, us coming together to celebrate together as opposed to wasting time picketing somebody that don't care about you in the first place is kind of what we are looking to accomplish. So I think his action calls us to mobilize, and I think as Fred was scanning, you can see that not just Black came out, but white people have come out. I mean, it's just a whole gamut of people. But at the end of the day, I think it's caused a renewed commitment to this day, Juneteenth. He did move it back one day, but still the fact that he wanted to come in here on the 19th and he didn't even know about what the date was, Yep. So I think for overall, I think Fred would agree that it has mobilized a community. 15, 20 years ago, we used to have 20, 30,000 people come to Juneteenth, and then it died down, but now it's mobilized. You have that feeling like it felt 20, 30 years ago.
Fred, what's going to go on today? You told me that Reverend Al Sharpton's in town and other celebrities, and that the event now has attracted media from around the country and around the world. What's the official program for today and this evening?
We've got some local stuff that's going to start here, man, in about 30 minutes. Then later on in the evening, man, actually Hill Harper, the actor and activist, is here. He's one of the MCs for today. Reverend Al will be speaking at 7 p.m. Then we've got some of our local constituents, our local politicians are going to, inspire, educate, and encourage the crowd. And then, of course, we all like a little old school, man. So we're going to have Lakeside to take us home. There has been a 10 p.m. curfew enacted in Tulsa for the next 48 hours due to 45 coming. But, it's going down all the way to 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm. How are they handling COVID there? I see Brother William Tisdale got his mask on.
Don't make me feel bad, man. Mine is right here now.
All right. That's right. How you guys, how's the community doing and practicing social distancing as we celebrate? How's that happening?
Well, I tell you, man, we've got about 45 different hand washing stations down in the grass. We've got over 25,000 masks that were donated. We had over 2,000 masks donated from Jay-Z and Rock Nation. We're doing everything that we can to make sure that we're safe in this environment. You know, and I heard a wise man say yesterday, you know, there's about 20,000 people that are going to gather for Trump's speech. And he said, you know, son, there's 20,000 people going to be there. And I pray and I hope that nobody comes away with COVID 2 weeks from now. And their last words is, I can't breathe. That was very profound to me.
So how has Oklahoma been part of the national movement of the search for justice, particularly around Minneapolis and Atlanta? Minneapolis, the murder of George Floyd, and then the recent death of the brother in Atlanta. How is your community mobilizing to analyze and put in context these things that are besetting our community?
I think that the George Floyd incident is the trigger, the catalyst that mobilized the world. When I say the world, you know, I think Oklahoma was just one of many. I think that people watched and looked at what happened and was in amazement. They couldn't believe it, regardless of who you were, to see a human life treated like that, you know, showed the lack of respect, the value that white people had, that white man had for George Floyd's life. And so, you know, it changed the whole makeup. We had Terrence Crutcher was shot and killed here a few years ago, had his hands up, and he was shot and killed. But this year has mobilized us to a whole new level. I think Fred will agree that, you know, you see people, young people, I mean, 18 to 20-year-olds are out here moving. So it has called this city, and it's ironic that it falls the year before we celebrate 100 years of the Black Wall Street massacre. So it's been different. It has really impacted how we live, how we think, and how we go forward.
Fred, go ahead.
Okay, man. So we're both on the committee, man. So we love you, Al, man. Thanks for having us. You know, I hope that we've been able to show Tulsa as we prepare today, man. It's going to be great. And I look forward to seeing you again, my brother.
Well, thank you so much. Let me ask you one last question. We're watching what happened in Atlanta. The county prosecutor, from my point of view, has done phenomenal work in detailing his decision to bring charges against the two white officers involved in the death of the brother there in Atlanta. And as a consequence, a number of Atlanta police are either doing sick outs or calling in. The same thing is happening here in Minnesota. There's a talk about policemen saying they are not going to go out and do their job. My attitude is, if you don't want to do the job, quit. You know, and
exactly.
If these people feel like they can hold our community and our freedom and our safety hostage, right? That if they feel like if they aren't free to kill somebody black, they don't want to play, I think it's time for them to leave. What are you guys hearing down there in terms of the attitude and the action of the county prosecutor in Atlanta?
I think that we haven't heard much down here. All the officers here are consistent with remaining at work and doing their job. So we haven't had much here, but you know, these things change sometimes hourly out. So, you know, it could be another thing by in the morning, you know, just depending on the FOP and the reaction. Those guys, I don't know if they've met since then, but, you know, it really depends on how that goes.
Let me have you put a plug out for your newspaper, the Oklahoma Eagle, before we leave. Tell people how to get connected to you and to follow you at the Eagle and your other platforms there.
All right. Well, the webpage is www.theoklahomaeagle.net. If anyone wants to contact me, my email address is at the bottom of the paper. We all at the bottom of the webpage. We came from the ashes the day after the race riot massacre in 1921. So we turned 100 at the same time. So we're looking forward to some festivities, you know, honoring that moment for us being 100 years old. That's a lot, especially for a Black publication. We're the oldest family-owned, African-American family-owned publication in the country. So we're looking forward to turning 100.
There we go. Well, thank you so much. You guys have a great day and happy Juneteenth to you. Keep up the fight, keep up the struggle, and God's grace on you all.
Okay. Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Al McFarlane. This is a Friday session of Conversations with Al McFarlane. Pleased to have Brother Fred Jones, who's one of the editors of the Oklahoma Eagle newspaper in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa is important just because it is, but particularly and additionally today because it is Juneteenth. And Tulsa is a community that over history, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Texas, huge Juneteenth celebrations. Juneteenth really formed and shaped and was a major, celebration of how we had to keep the spirit of becoming free, both top of mind, present of mind. And the story right now is the story of insult that President Trump had decided to hold his rally on Juneteenth Day first. Changed it to one day later. It's going to be tomorrow now, but also acting as though nobody knew anything about Juneteenth and now claiming, according to last night's news, that Black people should be happy because now everybody knows about Juneteenth and nobody did before. Well, he didn't know about Juneteenth. And, his spin is unacceptable. Well, we're glad to have this conversation, glad to have the one previously with Brother Ofari. Our goal is to use this technology to connect our communities here around the country and around the world. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you again. Our next planned webcast is going to be Monday morning. We'll be talking to community leaders, North Side, South Side, and Summit University in St. Paul, talking about the impact of both COVID-19 and the aftermath of the George Floyd killing, updating you on that, talking about development, the redevelopment of our neighborhoods. We hope to have neighborhood organizers and leaders, politicians that represent these neighborhoods, maybe some state elected officials as well. We'd like for you to have a say, and just send us an email. We want you to like these broadcasts if you like them, these webcasts, and share them to your networks, do watch parties. We'd like you to also subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. We're announcing today, we're launching a new daily newsletter, e-newsletter from Insight News. It'll be called Insight News Culture. So look for that in the next few minutes, the next hour or two. And if you look for that, say you like it, join it, and stay connected with our community. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Take care.